So, first topic, treating people like people. In my experience, this is something probably 99% or more of people out there don't do. Most of them probably don't even know how to. And there are probably a lot of them that think that they do, but they don't. And there are a lot of people out there that if you called them on that or you asked them to define it, probably wouldn't be able to define it. They probably want you to define it. And you might not be able to. So let's go ahead and address this real quick, real concise, as accurately as possible. The difference between people and characters is that people are not bound by their narratives the way that characters are. And that's the way most people are going to treat other people. They are going to treat them as though they are bound by their narratives. They are going to try to get to know that person in getting to know what their hobbies are, or what where they went to school, or what subjects they studied. They're going to want to know what kind of car you drive, or what kind of job do you work, or what your family was like, and what they're doing is they're trying to probe in order to try to sort of protect themselves or assess the risk of getting to know you more than they already do. Before incorporating you deeper and deeper into their lives. And like I said, what they're trying to do is they're trying to figure out your narrative. Because they really do believe, most of them, that you are bound by that narrative to live that narrative out, whatever that narrative is. And they may actually decide at some point, based on the information that they have collected, that it's not actually worth getting to know the rest of your narrative, because what they've learned thus far points in a particular direction that they really don't like. And they think that they've made a proper assessment of what your narrative is, and thus how you are bound to behave. And they don't want to have anything to do with it. And this causes a lot of the times for us to miss very, very key elements in each of our narratives that make humans that unpredictable, that unique, special. We tend to ignore those things and form these narratives for them that are not necessarily a true indication of what their narrative looks like. And then there's something even worse than that. And that is, we fail to acknowledge that this is a living person. This is not a character in a story who is bound by their narrative. This is someone who possesses the ability to write their own narrative. Because that's what we are as human beings. That is our purpose. That is our definition. Our essence is to be writers, to be creators, to invent and to reinvent, re-edit, to rebuild. It is our essence to change. That's what makes us human beings. It's what makes us real. As much as one tends to identify what is real and what isn't. And I've told people for a long time I identified more with fictional characters because so many people had treated me like I wasn't a person. And they treated those characters, those fictional characters, like they weren't people either. And so I actually felt more of a camaraderie with those characters. I felt like I was more one of them and they were more one of me than I was with anyone else. Because of the way that people treated us. And so even reality and fantasy can become a bit mixed sometimes. As we attempt to find that place to belong, that place where we can contribute, that place where our sacrifices find worth. The kind of worth that is capable of being returned to us in such a way that we can actually draw upon energy spent instead of simply putting it out there and having it gone. Yet we do this to ourselves and to each other. We treat ourselves and others like we are bound by that narrative. We're not. You are not your circumstances, no matter what those circumstances are. Beneath those circumstances are something that a lot of the times gets referred to as core values. And I almost don't want to get into all of this because this is a lot longer video than I had wanted to, but beneath that, there is you. All right, those core values still don't really define you because you can take those core values and apply them all kinds of different ways. Depending on the circumstances, you may decide that best way to uphold this core value is to go left, and then another set of circumstances show up and you decide the best way to uphold that core value is to go right. And it's not that your core values have changed. It's not that you have changed, but you have chosen to go a different way. It's important to embrace this aspect of ourselves because when we refuse to change, we lack the opportunity to see what doesn't. And when we change over and over and over, the things that stay the same, the things we choose over and over and over, because it's really who you are. That's the closest thing to a definition of who a person really is, where your identity truly stems from, are your choices. It's not something that you find and hold like a possession. It is something you do. Choosing over and over to do certain things, certain ways, for certain reasons. That is the most fundamental level of you as a human being. And as a person, not a character, you possess the ability to do whatever you want with that. You could even decide to go the complete most opposite direction possible, if you so chose, out of nowhere. That's that free will aspect. The ability to change course in big ways real quick. Now, word of warning, I've learned too much change too quickly. It always ends badly. And most of that has to do with the fact that our minds can only move so fast. If our bodies if we push ourselves physically to do more, our bodies are still like lagging behind, or our minds are still lagging behind, and they're like, yeah, no, we need some rest. We need to catch up with what you've already done, because we're not really following anymore. We're just sort of barely recording. And with others, most people just can't keep up. If you change fast enough, most people just can't keep up, period. And like I said, especially if they're trying to dissect you from the outside in without looking at you from the inside out, and then they're looking for that predictability that makes you less threatening, less risky to involve themselves with, that's not going to help. So, most of us don't make as much use of that potential as we are capable of, for good reason. But the point is that we can. All of us can. There is no person that can't. There are some people who choose to follow the narrative that they've been given. And in following that narrative, you don't have to get to know the person. You don't have to acknowledge them as a person. You acknowledge their narrative, you acknowledge them as a person. You acknowledge their narrative as the direction their life is going to take, and that's the direction that they take. So, win-win-win, it seems like. The downside there is that you've essentially resigned your fate. You've resigned yourself to your fate already. You've pre-writ your end. Now you're just basically dead. Drawing out the clock. You don't really get to live. And I would venture to guess that most midlife crises and identity crises and whatnot are tied to that. And in many cases, people are made to feel very unhappy as a result of having gone down that path. So I would strongly advise to any of my viewers, as it pertains to what subject matter has been covered in this video, that, like I said, way longer than I had wanted to, but this is a very important topic. Very important. I can count the number of people who have treated me like a person on one hand, two hands max, over the course of my entire life, 35 years. It's a pretty big problem within our American society, and probably stems throughout the rest of the world. I just wouldn't know personally. But it was worth spending the extra time on this subject. I really hope that anyone watching this video can take away from this video something useful, something that helps them to see themselves more and acknowledge themselves more in their own identity struggles and in their personal relationships, and how they choose to seek out those relationships and avoid others, as people who aren't willing to treat you like you're a person really aren't worth the time. No matter how much it seems like it might be beneficial, it just never ends up that way. On the flip side, a few people that I have known who really did treat me like a person, well, let's just say that I wouldn't be making this video, and I'd probably be dead instead, had it not been for those people. So, as it stands, I'm alive and happy. I could be happier, but as the old song goes, you don't always get what you want. But if you try sometimes, you might find you get what you need. And I have, and I'm grateful. So that's it for this video. Like I said, hope you found it useful, and I'll see you in the next.